It's a beautiful day and we're reading about some more entitled people. Gonna be an adventure like it is every single time, and I hope you guys are ready. Enjoy, guys. My entitled brother threw a massive fit just because he was mad that I bought a house. Yeah, I am aware of several similar stories involving entitled family members wanting houses that they have no claim to, but I guess this crap really does happen, and it's no picnic when it does. I suddenly became a homeowner some time ago because a friend of mine's grandfather was moving to Florida, and because of that his house was ripe for picking. I knew the old man well, rest in peace. He passed a few months later from a sudden stroke. Anyway, he offered the house and property to me for $200K. I practically ran to the bank to apply for the loan. The house is a manufactured home from the 80s, but it got remodeled repeatedly by the former owner and has a separate garage building. The home and property could have gone for more, but he offered the house to me because he knew that I'd take care of it. I had $30K saved that made a pretty good down payment, and I was happy to leave my apartment. I had wanted to eventually move out there after what my cheating ex did anyway, but that's a story for another time. As for my brother, well, he went bonkers when he found out that I bought a house. He had this repeated history of copycatting me for the past decade, but there was no way in hell he could copycat buying a house with his terrible credit and inconsistent income, and he got into an argument with me about how I was only trying to make him look bad by doing something that he couldn't. No, I just wanted a damn house, and the price was too good to refuse. Then he told me I should have turned it down because he had no good reason. I could practically see his screws getting looser with every dumbass excuse he made as to why I shouldn't have done it, but I pointed out that all of those excuses were just because I did something that he currently can't, and when I bought the house it had nothing to do with him. I just wanted to be a homeowner for the security and the extra space. I finally don't have to store my camper at my parents' house, and I've got a garage that I can store stuff and tinker in. I bought a camping cot, he bought a camping cot, went to the gym, he went to the gym, bought good booze, he bought good booze, or stole it from me. I bought a new TV, he bought a new TV, I bought a truck, he bought a truck, I bought a camper, he bought a camper, I bought a used portable DVD player, he bought a used portable DVD player, I went camping in a specific place, he went camping in that specific place, I bought a house, he 404 error, insert tea kettle noises and Benny Hill chase. He also acted like a complete child towards me when he built his mini Ram thing. He actually confronted me and said that it was cooler than my boring Tundra because it was something original. I swear, he did the dumbest mods to that vehicle, like putting twist studs in the suspension coils to raise the ride height. Well, after a few weeks of openly fuming about me being a homeowner, my brother suddenly acted like he had another brilliant idea. He wanted to move in with me. I laughed at him. Then he ended up demanding I rent out one of my rooms to him, and for only $200 a month, including the utilities, because he shouldn't have to pay any more than that since we're family. Oh my god, the audacity. He flipped his lid when I said F no. Then he got our parents involved again. What does he think your parents are gonna do? Only this time they actually did side with him at first, though it was mainly our mum. She and my brother showed up demanding that I let my brother move in, and my brother had a crap-eating grin on his face that I could tell that he was thinking he was getting his way. Thanks to mummy dearest. That's so stupid though that they think that they're gonna get their way. It's your house. I said F no to both of their faces, and my mother cried that I was using foul language to her and being an ass when I had the space now. So what, you have to let your brother live there? Nah. He called my dad and he told my mum that he'd warned her that I wouldn't do it and to leave me the hell alone. Mum whined that my brother had been living out of his camper next to a shabby house that he was renting space from. I said that wasn't my issue to fix, and my brother has proven countless different times that he can't be trusted. My brother was fuming to the point of being red with veins popping out. My mum tried one more time to convince me with tears, and that just made me even angrier. I went on a rant that was something like this: brother can't buy a house, so he wanted to invade mine. I refused to ever live with my brother again. I'd sooner live in the woods without electricity than with him. He's intentionally irritating as hell, and if I had him as a roommate, I just know that he'd steal my booze and take my stuff and invade my privacy non-stop. Not happening. No matter how many tears mum tried using on me, my mum broke down and finally conceded that she'd never convince me after that rant, and she had to take my brother by the hand and leave with him because he initially refused to go and kept on begging her to turn back and make me let him move in. Oh, that's so annoying. And then I yelled to him that it was a laugh that he called me a mama's boy before because he'd become exactly that, and this was just like the time he tried to get our mum to make me trade vehicles with him because he felt ashamed to be driving a minivan. He yanked away from mum and then told me to go and F myself and the horse I rode in on. I laughed and I pointed out that I didn't ride in on anything because I was already home, but that his rattle can horse would be waiting for him in the driveway. He flipped his lid again. It looked like his head was going to explode. Mum got in front of him and told him to just go. Then he drove off in his rattle can Silverado without her. He driven her there, and then I had to take her home. While taking her home, I made things very clear with my mum over why I could never trust my brother again, and his life was not my burden to bear, and then told her how little my brother was offering for rent anyway, which he'd conveniently not told her, and then I later rented out that same room to one of my best friends for $600 a month, and he pays for utilities. The other 2 rooms are my bedroom and a home office. There's an extra room in the separate garage too, so my mother tried to make me let my brother live in the garage instead. There's enough room in its storage room for a bedroom. Again, I said F no, and that's since been turned into another friend's rented room with a bit of plywood remodel. Yeah, I kinda rented both the spare bedroom and the garage room out to friends out of spite, but I wasn't letting my brother live with me in any capacity. My brother later ended up having a complete meltdown in front of our parents over how he's the older brother. He should be the one who owns a house first. He's supposed to be successful, and I'm supposed to be the big loser in his shadow. Our dad kinda poked him with his cane and told him that isn't how life works, and then they had a big argument. They told him to get out and not come back until he's cooled off and learnt that he's just being a pointlessly jealous a-hole. The next part I post, my brother did the dumbest thing of all. I'll make sure that we read that one too. Edit, I came home late to over 600 comments and still more pouring in. Far too many for me to answer, so I'll clear some things up here. Yeah, I am no contact with my brother, and he's no contact with the rest of the family as well. I do have cameras inside and outside my home, and a dash cam too, and my brother knows this, as he stayed the hell away since he left town. I'm told I'm an a-hole too, not arguing that because it is true. I'm not really the nicest guy, but have somebody like my brother in your life and see how peachy you turn out. Some have mentioned to having siblings just like my brother. Sadly, I know people like him are increasingly common these days. My dad said a number of times that my brother probably would have ended up dead in an alley if he lived here 50 years ago, with the way that he behaves. As for our ages, I'm 30 and my brother is 32. I have not given my parents a spare key to my house. One's with a friend and another is very cleverly hidden. My house is a manufactured home, but it isn't in a trailer park, and it has been significantly modified with new siding and a new roof, and has a separate garage building. The previous owner was a former general contractor, and he loved to build and repair. And yeah, I do have good insurance. I keep seeing comments about a clock radio. Pardon me for not getting the reference, but I do own a digital alarm clock that has a built-in CD player. Currently plays Tina Turner's Proud Mary to wake me up. My brother and I were raised pretty evenly. He was always a jerk, but went full a-hole after moving out. But our mother didn't favour him. She chewed him out plenty, and she didn't normally side with his stupidity. She just wanted him to live in a better place than a camper next to a house full of potheads. Addition, my brother willingly moved into that camper. He was renting half a room in that house of potheads. Then he convinced the landlord to let him live in his camper on the property for the same price instead. And he bragged about his camper a lot, which he has a full gaming centre in, complete with a PlayStation. He only wanted to invade my house to piss me off and make his cost of living lower. He also doesn't even like camping nearly as much as I do. He mainly liked just pissing me off by following me. He loved to make me miserable. In fact, he felt entitled to make me miserable. That's the kind of person that he is. Do I have a restraining order against my brother? Not really, I just didn't bother. Because even if I did, it'd only be for like a year, and my brother wouldn't let something like that stop him if he was truly determined anyway. Wow, okay. I'm gonna read the next part of this in the next Entitled People episode. Not to like end it on a cliffhanger or something, but that was a really long post, and there's plenty of other entitled people I want to read about today. But yeah, that was unbelievable. The entitlement. Like the fact that he feels like he's entitled to just move in with you because you have a house, and he's older and he should have a house or whatever, and because you're 2 years younger you shouldn't have a house or something. So unbelievably entitled and so rude, and also makes absolutely no sense. And the bit where he was begging your mum to make you let him move in, that was laughable. Mum, make him let me move in. Like your mum can't do anything about this. Acting like a 10-year-old. Yeah, that was an adventure and I can't wait to read the next part. But let's move on to the next post. To the 2 entitled brats that disturbed a flight from Iceland to Canada and caused a delay. I hope you're banned for life. I was on a recent flight from Iceland to Canada, and minutes before takeoff, literally as the hostess was doing a safety demonstration, a girl jumps out of her seat and interrupts her to tell her that she forgot her purse in the airport with her passport in it, asking if she can go and get it. She was hyperventilating. The hostess was asking her to sit down and calm down, and she goes to inform the crew. Then another crew member comes over, and lo and behold, the story changes into, no, I have my passport, but I need the purse because I have medication in it. They ask her what type of medication, maybe they have some on board with her, and then she snaps back at them telling them, it doesn't matter what medication, and that she needs her purse full stop and she can't have this conversation right now. Later they informed her that the ground crew was searching the gate where the girl told them the purse would be, but they found nothing. Then it got worse when her brother jumped up screaming at the crew saying that he can go and look for it. We were in the takeoff position away from the gate. The crew informed him that they can't allow him to go and do that, and then he charged out of his seat demanding to speak to the pilot, saying, I'm a pilot and I know what can be done. The audacity. 45 minutes in, the guy comes back and grabs his carry-on and his sister, and then left the plane after making a pathetic little speech saying that his sister could not have survived the flight without the medication. And at this point, everybody else on the flight was like, get the hell off, dude. Nobody wants to hear this crap. Later on, the captain informed the passengers that they were kicked off the plane because they did find the purse and there was no medication in it. And then the crew had to manually confirm the belongings of everybody on the plane to make sure these two didn't leave anything suspicious behind, causing everybody on the plane to freak out over a potential security threat considering the BS story that the two morons told. The whole ordeal caused the flight to be delayed by an hour or so, but it was infuriating to see how rude they were to the lovely crew and how entitled they thought they were to everybody's time. It was a packed flight with families and kids on board. She probably just didn't want to lose her purse, knowing that if she made up a whole sob story, they'd probably go let her get her bag and then hand it to her, no questions asked. Keep them off flights, please. Yeah, wow, that's so frustrating. I need my medication. Oh, wait a second, I don't have any medication. Yeah, all that drama for nothing. Like, yeah, it's not fun to lose something, but you tell the flight attendant about it, and I'm sure they could have sorted something out. Didn't need to be such a big issue. Yeah, the top comment. The irony is if the purse was going to be found, as it was, the airline probably could have arranged to have it sent to them on the next flight. They didn't need all that drama. The next one is called My Sister Got Mad at Me for Regularly Eating in a Hospital Cafeteria and Got Our Parents on her side. The rest of the family laid into them for it, so my sister decided to prank me as revenge by literally having my bike stolen and dumped. I nearly called the police. I really apologize for the length of this post, but writing down all the details took way longer than I thought, and this situation was downright crazy. I never thought my sister would do something like this. Not too long ago, I23male posted in the MIDA whole subreddit for advice because my parents and my sister were angry at me for eating at a hospital cafeteria because it was pretty close to my work. I enjoy the peace and quiet there on the days I do show up to eat, but this situation escalated so radically that I can't believe something so dumb actually happened. My sister did the pettiest thing she's ever done to me, and for completely undeserved reasons too. When my sister found out that I was eating at the hospital, she went off at me about how that food is only for people who are at the hospital because they need to be. We ended up in a big argument about it, in which I told her it wasn't like I was taking food from the mouths of the patients. Then she went to her parents to get them on her side like always, and they immediately sided with her just like I thought they would. They backed her up on how the hospital cafeteria was not a place to go eating casually, and then we had a big argument. They spent days hounding me and telling me that I was wrong and demanding I stop. So I went to Reddit, and here I learned that not only was I not doing anything wrong, but it's a very common thing for people to go and eat at a hospital cafeteria because they like it. So I did hope the situation would sort of fade away, but a few days later my sister called me asking if I had stopped eating at the hospital. I said no, and then it started all over again. My parents then called me fuming and acting like I was supposed to stop going because they said so. I reminded them that I don't live under their roof anymore, and this is exactly the kind of reason why I moved out. They take my sister's side in almost everything. They huffed and puffed about it. This time the fight didn't stay at home though. Other relatives of mine found out because my sister tried to broaden her support. She was so dead set on enforcing her will upon me that she went looking for help from other relatives, but our parents were the only ones on her side, and my uncle personally admonished my parents and her over the phone for it once I told him what actually happened. He told them they were only siding with my sister because she's their favourite, and they're terrible parents for ever playing favourites to begin with. Then my cousin went to eat with me at the hospital cafeteria and said that he'd like to go there once a week too, as he also works nearby and cycles everywhere. We've run into each other at lunch there once already since then. He was actually rather pleased to find out that the food was made healthier than most other places. He's a bit of a picky eater, so this place is kind of like his new lunch hangout. And my sister got even angrier after finding out there were other people in the family eating at the hospital now too. Once outed, my parents backed down due to embarrassment. They apologized to me and then gave me some malarkey that they honestly thought that eating at a hospital was weird and that they felt like they just needed to defend my sister. I told them they'd been placating my sister for so long that it's all they do whenever she starts something with anybody. She's been treating me like a condescending control freak and a bully since we were teenagers, even though I'm older, and they just keep enabling that. But I won't put up with it anymore. My parents ended up conceding and apologized. Then they made my sister apologize to me too, and I could tell she hated every second of it because she tried to speak through her teeth at first. Later on, my parents invited me to dinner as another form of apology, but it felt more like a show to look good to the rest of the family because they told everybody about it before it even happened. The dinner was great, I can't deny. My parents had cooked a turkey, arguably one of my favorite things to eat. I love the drumsticks lathered with gravy. Yeah, I'm kind of a pig when I eat them, but I can't help it. My sister always thought it was funny and was one of the few things I didn't mind her laughing about, so I thought nothing of why she was so giggly at dinner. Later, after the family dinner, I noticed that my bike was missing. I'd parked it in the backyard out of sight, but it was just gone. I freaked out because it's my only mode of transportation. My parents did panic a bit with me, but my sister seemed just the opposite. She actually looked happy and was still giggling. I immediately suspected her, and she played innocent. She even gave the "I can't believe you'd think I'd do something like that" line. I already knew that she was extremely petty, but this was a whole new level of it for her. So I said I was going to go over to the neighbor's house because I know they have cameras, and they would have seen what happened, and then I'd call the cops. My sister suddenly looked panicked, and I got mad and said I knew it was her, and demanded my my bike back, she started crying and saying that she didn't do anything, and our parents were immediately taking her side while scolding me for daring to accuse her. So I had enough and I said I was going to go to the neighbors to ask to see their cameras, and then I'd be calling the police. My sister finally fessed up and called me to come back. The looks on her parents' faces after they just defended her were priceless. My sister said she was just so angry at me for having made her apologize for something that she still believed she was in the right about, so she planned to have a couple of her friends to come and grab my bike during dinner. She said that her friends were in a minivan with it just down the street. She then started saying that I couldn't call the police on her anyway because I'm her big brother. Our parents backed that up too. But I pulled out my phone and I started marching outside again. They ran after me with my sister begging and crying for me to stop. I called her a brat and then I told my parents I couldn't believe they were still defending her when she was acting like this. Our parents finally hit their enabling limit with her and told her to make her friends bring my bike back immediately. She got on her phone while sniffing and calling her friends up, but then she suddenly ran into her room to talk to them. I couldn't hear a thing she said through the door because she was whispering, and our parents looked worried too. My sister would never have willingly admitted that she had my bike stolen. She just kept on sobbing that it was only a prank over and over again, and she also kept using the excuse that it was just a cheap bike anyway. I bought it used some months ago for $50, but it's in great shape, and it's my main mode of transportation. My sister kept on looking at our parents to back her up, and that time they just couldn't, so she slumped down in her chair, hugging her knees and waiting for the rest of us. My sister looked increasingly freaked out the longer her friends took to bring my bike back, and was repeatedly texting them. Even though my sister said that her friends were just down the street, it took them roughly an hour to bring my bike back. They finally pulled up in the minivan with my bike shoved in the back. It was completely soaked and all muddy, like it had just been pulled out of a wet, muddy ditch. The bike is a 700C, so it's too tall for either of them to ride. So they just drove right up and stole the bike by dragging it into the van as fast as they could before taking off. I say they stole it because I was almost certain in the moment that my sister had told them to dispose of my bike. Had I not pointed out the neighbors have cameras, I may not have gotten it back. When our friends did finally arrive, their legs were all muddy and wet nearly up to their knees. They both begged me not to report them to the police for taking the bike. I asked while recording them to tell me the truth and pointed out that the neighbors have cameras. Did my sister want them to get rid of my bike? They broke down and said, yeah, my sister wanted them to take the bike and dump it in a pond a few miles away, and they had to go back there and get it when they realized they were caught. My bike had never been completely submerged in muddy water. Thankfully, I didn't have any added accessories on it besides a detachable headlight and my water bottle, but the water bottle was missing. I wasn't surprised by what my sister's friends told me, and I had them tell her parents too. They laid into my sister until she was bowling on the floor, kicking and pounding like a toddler. I have never seen my sister act that way since she actually was a toddler, and I found it mortifying that she was still like this on the inside. Then she shut herself in her room. Her friends were banned from ever coming to my parents' house again, and then my sister was forced to come out of her room by our mum and make another big apology to me. Our dad then forced her to wash and oil my bike from the stem to the stern under his supervision, while I took apart the headlight and cleaned it out to dry. By the time my sister was done, it was dark outside. She glared at me like I was the devil when she came back in the house, but our parents shut her attitude right down and said they'd never been more embarrassed by her in their life. She went back to crying in her room. I had a very frank discussion with my parents about my sister's childlike behavior and how it stemmed from their spoiling and enabling. I said I couldn't believe I had to be the voice of reason, but the fact that she was on the floor crying like a toddler and kicking and pounding showed that she was still mentally a child because of them, and they kept on making me the scapegoat when she screwed up, so she barely knows any sense of accountability. For once, they didn't argue with me about it, and then my father silently drove me and my bike back to my apartment with his SUV. He also gave me some money to replace my bike's missing water bottle before we parted. My sister and her clique used to harass me a fair bit whenever we'd run into each other. They made fun of me as a group whenever possible, and I usually just ignored them because they bored me, and that really seemed to tick them off. But after the bike incident, I got sent numerous messages from numbers I didn't even know, cussing me out for making my sister cry over a silly prank. Knowing her, my sister probably fed everybody she knew a very different story on what happened. I texted lengthy replies of what actually happened, and even stated I have recordings of her friends admitting the truth. Some people at my sister's college found out what actually went down, maybe from my text or maybe from her friends spilling the beans, but it embarrassed my sister so much that she came home having a crying tantrum about how people there were calling her and her friends bees and bike thieves. I may not have gone to college, but I know students who need them are very protective of their bikes. A lot of them live on shoestring budgets after all. My sister said somebody even joked that they shouldn't leave a bike around her because it might just disappear if she had to apologize to anybody. My sister ended up so upset that she refused to leave her room for 3 days just to have her pity party. My parents called me up to try and turn everything on me again. I reminded them about the discussion that we had days before and that they needed to stop babying her and let her deal with the repercussions of her own actions. If she does fail her classes again, it's because she isn't trying like she should be. Then I went off on them how they were just looking for somebody to blame to make her feel better. She made the problem, not me, and I wasn't going to be the one that they make the scapegoat anymore. My sister is an adult and she needs to act like it. They sounded defeated and then apologized before ending the call. It looks like they were genuinely hoping I'd just sit back and take take the blame so that my sister would get better, but I never will again. Now my parents are trying to pretend this all never happened, and my sister as well as her clique are avoiding me at all costs, which I suppose is fine with me because I don't want any more drama. But the next time something like this happens, I won't take it from them. Oh my god, that was so wild. Yeah, the top comment, your parents and sister are unbelievable. Yeah, I don't even know what to say after reading something like that. Imagine being a fully grown adult like that, gets caught for doing something wrong, and has a tantrum to her parents. Yeah, after all that, we need to read something wholesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and let me know down below if you did. But yeah, that's enough entitled people for today. What's the nicest thing a stranger has done for you? A really small thing, but I hope I remember it forever. My son was probably 2 or 3, and we went to the mall for some reason. My son liked looking at displays and stuff. Well, there was a $1 train set in a case that you could put a $1 in and then watch it go around for a while. I was pretty broke if I recall, and I never had cash on me regardless. He was content just looking at the display. A group of loud mall teens come through and go past. One of them comes back and puts $1 in the machine and says, "I always like to watch trains too," and then hurries off back to his friends. My son lit up. I never would have expected that action from a stranger, let alone a teenager with his friends in a mall. Oh, that's so sweet. What a legend. And yeah, they didn't need to do that, but they did. My ancestors worked in packs to bring down bison. I'm an old lady's lapdog. You protect a member of your pack from loneliness and the cold. Your ancestors would be proud. Yeah, like the top comment says, it's all about perspective. Yeah, don't be sad, little puppy dog. You're doing great. I saw this today. No matter what happens in your life, you can start over. Yeah, 100%. That's such a beautiful message. But like this comment says, live your fullest life on the graves of the dead. Yeah, I don't think that's the same tree, but that's a beautiful message though. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did and you want to see more episodes like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And the comment of the day today goes to Sabrina Knight. I thought Vincey might want to hear something wholesome. At the start of mine and my boyfriend's relationship, we started listening to Vincey together. Almost 2 years after, him and I are living with his 2 kids, 11 male and 12 female, that also listen to Vincey videos with us now. Wow, that's so awesome. Thank you. That's so hard to wrap my head around, but yeah, I really appreciate the support, and support for a long time as well. 2 years you've been watching my videos. That's so wild. So yeah, thank you for the support, Sabrina, and your boyfriend and his kids too. And thank you all for the support, guys. Make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!